Hi, hello. This is another video of mine with regards to the series After, which is actually a book collection by an author called Todd. Now, I have done some blogs about this recently over the last sort of 24 hours. Now, before I go any further with commenting about the book and how it differentiates between the film, this has been, sorry I keep moving because I'm using my camera phone. It has been quite a successful book. I mean, the author herself has sold 11 million copies, I believe, if not more. But one thing I really want to, there's a lot of reallys there, want to express is that this is not a book, I would say, for anyone to read under the age of 15. Yes, there is some graphic sexual contents. I mean, I've gone past the 100 page mark, and already the book is completely different to the film. The film shows a lot more innocence, a lot more naivety. It glances over the alcohol side of things and this sort of attitude and lifestyle that young people kind of get coerced into with underage drinking, promiscuity, thinking it's okay to sleep with multiple partners before the age of 21. Bearing in mind, if you live in different countries, the rules are different when it comes to being sexually active, smoking, drinking, and driving. So I'm actually born in the UK, and the legal age to drink in the UK is actually 18, whereas in America it's 21. To drive, you can have lessons, but I believe it's over the age of 17, 18. I can't remember, it's been such a long time since I drove. And again, smoking did get lifted up to, I believe it was 17 or 18 and not 16. So, just a few warnings. I mean, I've been reading the book and I haven't had my book published yet myself. And one of the things that people have said about my book is do not market it for young people. There's too much violence in there. There's too much adult relationship information. And I think when I first started writing my book 20 years ago, even then I knew it wasn't going to be for young people. And my friends would be like, if somebody is being abusive to you, why would you hug them? You know, it just proves their naivety of and their innocence, I suppose, of never knowing what it's like to be in a relationship that includes domestic violence. Now, straight away in this book, you know that it's going to be about underage drinking. It's going to be about promiscuity. It's going to be about, you know, life at college. Sorry, it's just my little one again. But it kind of, even then, hats off to the author, she still kind of like glances over it a little. It's very glazed. And it's got to chapter 23 now, I believe I'm on. I'd have to just double check. I'll make any comments on YouTube. And already I'm not liking this book and I'm not feeling comfortable reading it. So one of the main reasons for this is because I have witnessed alcohol abuse. I have witnessed domestic violence. I have witnessed what can happen to people when they are in unhealthy relationships or unhealthy situations. But then I'm 40. I'm not 14. So, of course, at some point in my life, I would have witnessed these things. You would like to think you wouldn't be exposed to these things, but unfortunately, it is part of society. What I think the biggest issue with it, in my opinion, is how it's still such a taboo subject. Alcoholism is an addiction. Alcohol is a drug. And there isn't enough support out there, in my opinion, for people that struggle with alcohol. And I'm not just talking about for adults, I'm talking about young people as well. I remember vaguely being taught about drugs and alcohol abuse at school, about the risks of, being sexually active. But again, it was so, like, I'm not saying it needs to be scaremongering but I just think the information you're given, it's just not enough to support you later on in life if you have issues. I think, again, if you speak to most women, including myself, the biggest risk of obviously being sexually active is being pregnant. You don't always think about the other complications, such as sexually transmitted diseases, which can happen between men and women and women and women and men. So again, I think it's good that contraception has been mentioned in the book. So again, hats off to the author, that they've accepted the fact, if they are going to be sharing partners or being promiscuous, or, that they are using protection. And I'm really glad that that has been emphasised in the book. But I feel that the abusive side of the relationship between the characters, Tessa and Hardin, it's kind of been normalised. It's like it's okay to sort of be like that to someone. And that's how it's sort of coming across. And now it's got to the part where, if you've seen the movie, spoiler alert, Tessa's just been phoned up by Landon, who is Hardin's... He's not his brother as such, their parents are dating. And in the movie, you see the aftermath of, the house being completely trashed because he's had some sort of drunken rage. Whereas in the book, she's actually phoned by Landon and can hear him basically being out of control. So you kind of think to yourself, well, if somebody's just phoned you and you can hear somebody is obviously smashing stuff up in the background, would you really want to go to that house? Would you take that risk? And obviously, as we know, she does. Again, another bit of a spoiler alert. But two of my pet hates at the moment with this book is some of the use of the language that is used. Baby is used. I hate baby. I hate the word babe. It's so juvenile. And again, so it just shows the level of maturity between the two characters. And slapped is probably on every single page that I've read so far. I wanted to slap him. I wanted to hit him. I thought he was going to slap me. I thought he was going to hit me. I wanted to slap myself for being silly. There's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of low self-esteem in the characters, I've noticed. And the other thing, which again is a major spoiler alert, is that obviously people are aware that Tess and Noah are not sexually active with each other to the point where they have consummated their relationship. But in the book, it's explained the reason for this is because they're planning on waiting until they're married. In the movie, it is briefly glanced over where she says, I'm pretty sure my mom's been planning my wedding to Noah since I was 5. It's still not 100% clear as to at what age did Noah and Tess become friends, but we know that from the book that they were friends from the age of 10 or around that age. So I think it's fair to say, if you've been brought up in that bubble and you've been brought up knowing that you don't have sex before marriage and that if a boy really loves you, he'll wait. That's probably the sorts of things, she's been told. Then it's fair to say that it's a huge culture shock when that bubble kind of pops and you are thrown into the mix with everybody else whose parents may have taught them differently or they've been brought up differently, and then they've had the opportunity to kind of grow as individuals without parental supervision. Yeah, sure, you're at college, you're going to have guidance counsellors floating around, you're going to have your tutors. But 9 times out of 10, you're not going to have that parental supervision. So you are, in a way, more of a young adult, but at the same time, you have the mindset of a child. So that has been clearly explained in the book. And again, the clear notion that also in the book that's mentioned is that Noah respectfully doesn't actually sleep over with Tess. He goes and stays at a hotel. And even when she's trying to instigate the relationship further, whether it's due to probably through inexperience himself and the lack of confidence in himself, which does happen in both men and women, he doesn't pursue it. And she's kind of at that point now where the genie's kind of a little bit out of the bottle, and she wants to know whether or not she could have the same feelings with him now that she's experienced feelings with somebody else. A bit of advice there, I'm not condoning promiscuity. I'm not saying, have that attitude. But every experience you have with somebody is always going to be that slightly different. There will be certain things, I think, in my own opinion, that may or may not be the same. But I think it's about acceptance and contentment. Yeah, it's okay to kind of indulge yourself once in a while and, eat that bar of chocolate, so to speak. But I think when you kind of get to that point, or you feel, that you don't need to be promiscuous. I have a lot of friends who have only ever been with the same person for 10 years of their life. And people think that's ridiculous. How could that happen? And it's like, well, I think, when you are happy with that person, why would you want to go and find somebody new? So I think, in my opinion, Tess obviously isn't happy with the relationship she's in for whatever reason. And that's why she has allowed what has happened between her and Aidan I'm just checking, making sure that I have said the right name there, to continue. So, like I said, if you are going to read this book, just please bear in mind that when you get to after chapter 100, it's going to be talking a lot more about alcoholism. It's talked about her battles with alcohol due to her abusive father, who was an alcoholic, and her mother's acceptance to continue the relationship. So now it's kind of out of the frying pan into the fire that she appears to be accepting and going down the same sort of path that her mother did. And like I said, for somebody who's obviously experienced this and is aware of it, I would say pretty much from quite a young age, I was aware of the effects of alcohol and how they could affect a person. And even more so now that I'm an adult, then just be careful. And if you are a parent out there and you're happy for your child to read this book, that's fine. But again, just be aware that if they do read it, there may be issues in that book that they may want to confide in you about, or maybe you could talk to them about if you felt comfortable doing so. Again, it depends on the relationship. So thank you very much once again for this video, and I will continue with my Lent reading and post whenever I feel it is necessary to do so.